Yo guys! It's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto What If tale. I am back with a part 5 of What If Naruto got a herm in the DC universe. Now before we start, let's do a summary first. Transported to a world full of heroes, Naruto teams up with the greatest to stop an invasion based on the 2001 to 2004 and 2004 to 2006 shows Justice League. In Justice League Unlimited, Naruto X Haram story name is Ninja on the League. Disclaim: Lone Wolf 1 is the author of this series. 1 just made the audio adaptation of it, and yeah, I have the permission of the author. Remember to like, subscribe aft this video and make sure to share it with your friends. Now let's music begin. Chapter 22 Hearts and Minds. Last time you're not battle looking, she said, walking past him. I've got an apartment close to here I use for when I help Batman. I'll meet you there, he said before fixing his hood and walked out, with her giving her a piece of paper. Oh, but the way Kathy drew a woman beside you who looks really familiar. Do you know her? Yes, she's Andrea Beaumont. She taught me how to fight, she answering, making Naruto freeze and look to her. Barbara's apartment. Naruto flashed in to see Barbara watching TV. Barbara shish. He looked back to him as he took off his coat. I've got to tell you something. Sitting down, he told her about their future he learned from when he traveled with Static. A miscarriage, she asked, holding her stomach. He nodded. Yes, we broke up 5 years later and you married someone named Sam Young. Really not Dick, she asked as he shrugged. I know you three had a falling out with Bruce. Maybe you drifted apart with him and Tim also. He sat down beside her and wrapped an arm around her shoulder. I know you stop a mugging several weeks after you get pregnant. Just throw down a heron. Flying thunder god, can I when you come up to one and I'll help. A few days later with Bruce. So we're breaking up, Kathy asked as Bruce looked down. Yes, but not because of you being Batwoman. You just remind me of my ex-fiancé, right down to having your father on the wrong side of the law, Bruce replied before Kathy leaned up to kiss his cheek. Okay, I understand, she said before walking in. Her Bill booing. Bruce sighed before looking at the setting sun. Gotham Cemetery. A woman in a black dress was looking at a tombstone before saying, I'm sorry I haven't been by the talk, Mom. I just got into town after leaving for a while, the woman said. See, leaning the grass off the stone, showing Victoria Beaumont as the wind blew the woman's long brown hair. Now Metropolis noon. Naruto 1. Naruto in his costume walked to a crime scene in an alleyway. As the police was outside, he looked down at a tarp covering a person and a burn mark on the ground and walls. The fire damage will make it harder identifying the evidence, he said before scanning the hand of the man. An info box came up on his lens, going through records of fingerprints before stopping on one. Records say he's Alex K, an arms dealer that works for some big-time villains. Died of a gunshot. Wound to the heart. The fire must have been made to destroy evidence. Either he ripped someone off or we have a vigilante on our hands. He looked in front of Alex's feet and saw a blood spot. Once scanning it, he saw a hologram get shot by another at the end of the alleyway and fall on Alex's spot. DNA says the killer fired from close range. This suggests the two knew each other, he said before scanning the middle of one of the fire marks. A hologram of a fire came up. Interesting, this indicates the victim started the fire. An incendiary grenade. Perhaps the killer must have found a way out since they air at the dead end. He looked up and rewinds a little, showing the hologram jumping up and climbing the windows before jumping up to a ladder and stumbling. Naruto walked over and saw the ladder on the ground. He scanned it and found fingerprints on it before putting his hand to his ear. Oracle 2 aft. A second, he heard Sonia's voice. Yes, he looked to Alex before continuing. I need a location of 1KLU. He's a suspect in a murder investigation. After a moment, she replied, he's a couple of miles from your position at a bar. Naruto ran up the walls and jumped across the rooftops before landing in front of the bar. Walking in, he saw several people eating at tables in the bar. The people stopped eating as Naruto walked up to a man that's talking to his friends. Come, Liu Kong looked up to him and raised an eyebrow. You're under arrest for the murder of one Alex Crane. Kong stood up and walked to him. He threw a punch that Naruto grabbed before punching him, knocking him into a table. Naruto picked him up and punched the table, cracking it. Why did you kill him? He asked as Kong talked. I just wanted his business. Naruto knocked him out before putting a hand to his ear. Oracle, let the police know. A few days later the watchtower Naruto with his hood down walked into the monitors and heard Hawk Girl arguing with Green Lantern over a monitor about fixing the watchtower. Flash walked in reading a comic and eating a banana before looking up. Do I have to send you two to your rooms without DNNER? I swear I'm living with two bickering siblings, Flash said, making them stop. That's better. Suddenly an alarm sounded off as a picture of something falling to Earth came up on the monitor. We've got something coming to Earth, Hug Girl said, typing on the keyboard. Meteor, Green Lantern asked. Is she show okay? Her head. No, there's a life sign incursion maybe. Naruto pulled his hood up and walked to the hangar. I'll get the javelin. Desert Earth. Naruto, Hawk Girl, Flash and Martian Manhunter flew down to a crater where Green Lantern flew down to a wounded Kilowog. As they walked out, Kilowog looked up to them. They got her, John. They got Cat, he said with a groan before falling unconscious. Who got her? Kill AOG. Green Lantern shook him before setting him down and looked to the other. Take care of him, he yelled before flying into the sky. Soon Flash couldn't help but say what was on everyone's mind. What just happened? Pened Medical Center Watchtower. Jean worked on Kilowog as the others looked on. Good thing we have a Martian carrying armo, Flash said as Jean looked to him for a second. Kilowog's biology is similar to my own. Hawk Girl glanced up to him before speaking. And how much of this is guesswork? JN picked you. PA syringe before answering. I'd rather not say. He puts the syringe in Kilowog's arm, having him wake up with a groan. Later, as Jean was working on the last of Kilowog's injuries, he soon explained about how he and a few other lanterns were sent to stop Despero, the leader of a cult named the Legion O. The Third Eye, from taking over a planet, and how one lantern cat Muil, John's teacher and lover, was captured. He was teacher pet Goodgo G. Flash said as Hawk Girl rolled her eyes. Later, after getting dressed, Kilowog stood as the others came back. We can't raise John on his Cal Link, John said as Kill AWOG nodded. No surprise, he's probably at the fringe of the galaxy by now. Crummy place for CATM to get stuck in. Naruto walked over and crossed his arms. Is there any way you could take us there or at least track him? Yeah, but my ring's running low. I need my Green Lantern battery. Flash looked down and thought for a moment before looking to Kill AW. Doesn't John have one that you could use? Realization dawned on Kilowog, who slapped Flash on the back, making him stumble. Good thinking, Poe. Know where he keeps it? Well, good place to start will be his apartment, Naruto said before walking out with Flash and Kilowog following after him with Green Lantern. Not a good sign, he said, looking at a destroyed Green Lantern ship. Must have been some heavy weapons to take out a G5 cruiser. He looked down at the nearest planter and aimed his ring at it. Come on, Cat, he said, scanning around until he felt a pulse. Gotcha. As he landed, he saw a town with purple aliens walking around a marketplace before seeing two in armor with a triangle with an eye inside chase another. When he caught up, he saw them about to kill the other alien with purple flames on their spears before capturing them in balls. Can we all just get aloe? He asked before knocking them out, causing the crow to move away from him. Good going, John, he said before flying away to find Katma. Later, after disguising himself, JN found where Qatar ring is. Can I help you? He turned to see an alien holding a mace. No, I'm good. The alien held up his mace and glared at Green Lantern sighed. I'm here on business from Despero. Take it up with him, Green Lantern replied. Having the alien run off, he went in a small house and found KD's ring under her pillow. As he puts it on his left hand, he was suddenly zapped by two of Despero's guards. John's apartment, Kilowog, Florida. Shishin. Naruto. Well, John's a neat freak, Flash said, looking at the clean apartment. Kwag looked around with his ring before glancing to the others. I'll find the lantern, this will only take a second. Flash nodded before dashing over to the fridge. I don't think it'll be in there, Kwag said. His Flash picked a chicken leg and took a bite out of it. I'm not looking for the lantern. You're not the only one that needs to recharge. He closed the door and opened the freezer. I knew Johnny had a kink in his armor. He pulled out a carton of berry-flavored ice cream and looked to Kilowog. Kwag picked it up and ate. Tasty. Naruto blinked before turning around and looked around the room. As Naruto was looking around the room, he heard Flash speak up. Old Yeller, a classic. Naruto saw Kawag eat the VHS and blink. Wasn't that movie like 40-50 years old? Do they even still sell them anymore? Flash looked over to him as he Continued. And wasn't that John's favorite movie, one given to him by his father? Flash blinked again before chuckling nervously. I'm sure you'll forgive me. Naruto shrugged before going back to searching. Good lord. Naruto turned around to see Flash being beaten by an old woman with a broom. A little help here. Naruto held in his laughter as he spoke up. Sorry Flash, she has a broom, I can't go up against that. Kawag found the lantern and ran out the room with the others. Fallen and don't come back. Green Lantern groaned as he was dropped in front of an alien with a third eye, black goatee and a few female aliens in brass bikinis around him. The Sparrow, I presume, he asked as the other aliens in the room chanted his name and a backup group. 2 Disparrow smiled at him before speaking. The Guardians would be wise to step aside. A new order is coming. He went on to talk about how he was an outcast for his third eyes and one day in the desert found the flame of Patar and how it chose him to spread its message. Really? Green Lantern asked as the Sparrow pointed towards a giant door which opened and showed a purple flame. So you build a bonfire? The Sparrow chuckled before looking to the fire. You skeptic. So were others. Day Sparrow attacked him by shooting a beam out of his third eye as Green Lantern countered but was overpowered. He kicked him to a female alien with orange skin, black hair and black lipstick. Priestess, throw him in the flame. Green Lantern's eyes widen at her. Cat drive. Agged him over and threw him into the flame. Unknown location. Green Lantern screamed as he fell down from a transporter. Welcome. He looked up to see the alien he talked to earlier and another with a bonded to the resistance. Green Lantern face med as he sighed. I should have guessed that there's always a resistance. The alien went on to explain how they transported him before a female voice spoke up. It's the best I could do on that short time. Green Lantern turned back to see Katma walking over. Cat, as he got to her, she punched him, having him trip over a pipe. Nice to see you, Cat. She glared at him or a moment before putting her right foot on the pipe. What the hell are you doing here? It's nice to see you too. I thought you were in trouble, he replied, rubbing his jaw. And when have you ever known me to be in trouble? JN got up and stared at her. I was obviously mistaken, he said before picking her ring off his finger and gave it back to her. Here, this isn't something you leave lying around, it is when you're undercover, Kat said, putting the ring in her bikini bottom. She sighed before going into detail of losing several lanterns fighting to Sparrow, having to pretend to be a recently converted follower for the resistance and what she's learned so far about his plan. Later, Naruto, Flash, Hawk Girl, Kill AWOG and Martian Manhunter. Naruto ran across the rooftops shooting arrows down and having them explode on Day Sparrow's followers as the others attacked on the ground. Naruto jumped high in the air and shot 3 arrows down before landing beside Ha Girl. She lifted her mace and attacked one of the tanks that rolled to them as Naruto went through hand sign. He flipped the tanks over as Kilowog and the others came down to him. Later, Jean was reading the hieroglyphics for the aliens about the flame of Patar, how Day Sparrow uses it and having a way of possibly destroying it. I can make a carbon bomb, Kilowog stated, getting the others to look at him. What, that was my major before joining the Corps, he said as Naruto walked up. You know, this Disparrow reminds me of several ninjas I faced in my world. Naruto see his arms, remembering Nagato before beating him, the stories he heard of Hanzo and Danzo. He sighed before leaving to check on JN. When he got to the room, John stormed out his cat meat in frustration. Impatient, Naruto asked as she nodded, let me talk to him. I was in a similar predicament with having to go to a teacher after I was promoted of sorts, but still needed his help. Hell, I even went to a teacher that wasn't mine when I was learning how to cut a leaf in two using only my chakra, he said, turning around and found JN. Listen JN, you need to go back in there. I know you think the basics of the ring training doesn't apply anymore, but you need to continue practicing the basic principles. Even the strongest can be beaten by the weakest attack if they underestimate their opponent, he finished as John looked down and thought. As he left, Naruto started meditating before Hawk Girl walked up to him. You trying to get into that nature mode of yours, she asked as he looked up. Sage mode, and yes, what, to sit in my lap? That would help, she huffed before crossing her arms. Why would I'm not with you, he smiled before replying, because I'm irresistible. She bent down and smirked. I could do better. So You have thought about it. I always thought you had someone back home. She looked away with a sad look. Naruto was about to apologize on that remark and say something until the wall broke down, showing Day Sparrow's army covered in purple flame. Naruto cursed before going through hand signs. He hits the gr. Creating a dome over him to continue gathering energy. The dome shook as Naruto felt the energy of the flame. That's weird, it feels tainted, like it wasn't evil before. He thought his orange pigmentation came around his eyes a little harder than back on Earth, but this little will do. He broke the dome before picking up several hairish flying thunder god Kai and threw them at the AR army. Naruto attacked every soldier as he flashed in between the Kai before seeing Katma create a wall of rubble to allow Jean Flash and Kilowog time to finish the bomb. He turned his attention to the army as Green Lantern Girl and Katma flew outside to another group. Later Naruto jumped through the window to see Katma covered in the flame of Patar standing in front of a tied-up Green Lantern and Girl as Despar used his third eye on Girl. Naren dashed forward and kicked him away, sending him flying into the wall. Nar dashed to him and punched him before jumping back as the flame of Batar covered him. You bastard, Naruto said before red chakra started covering him. Let's see how good you are when you can't use that third eye. Naruto grabbed him and burned his third eye, causing him to scream. Naruto looked over his shoulder and saw Green Lantern fighting a mind-controlled Katma. Green Lantern created a shield as Katma threw a punch at him, tried to knock her out or cuff her. Naruto yelled before punching Day Sparrow up in the air, grab his feet and slam him down to the ground. Green Lantern created a large cuff that caught Katma from the neck down. Suddenly her flame went away as a large thorn-covered root wrapped around Despero and dragged him down into the ground. Morning, Naruto looked out to the new foliage covering the planet before touching a tree. It doesn't feel tainted anymore, he thought before walking back to the others and looked at Katma. Say, do you have any more brass bikinis? She looked at him for a moment before answering, yeah, but like I told John, you look horrible. Naruto looked green for a moment before taking a deep breath. First of all, second of all, I meant to give to my girl. Naruto stopped as Girl reached up and twisted his ear. Hey, come on, I would have given you one too. Ow. She twisted it harder as she dragged him to John, who created a bubble and took them in the air. Oh yeah, almost forgot. John Flash destroyed your only copy of Old Yeller, Naruto stated as John Gla. Red at Flash, whom was sweating bullets by now just outside of Dakota Gold Reserves. One, the police shot a Green Lantern who's floating in the air with a bubble shield around him. He created several ordinary objects to push them away and attack several helicopters that flew to him. He flew inside and say. Several moments later, a green light went up in the sky. The police stared as Green Lantern went up in the air with the gold. One took aim at him but brought his gun down. What are you doing? Another asked him as he took his hat off. That's the Green Lantern, nothing can stop him, the officer replied as Green Lantern disappeared in the sky. Next morning, Smallville, Naruto's house. Naruto was sitting on the couch watching TV as Barb had her head on his lap. So how's getting into archaeology, Barb? Naruto asked as she started purring as he ran his hand through her hair. Better than I thought for an ex-con, he I led before leaning down and gave her a kiss. Suddenly Hunter ran in and laid down in front of them as Diana walked in, hair in a bun, glasses and a blue business dress. He smiled at her as she walked over behind the couch, still working on getting a seat for the UN. She leaned down to give him a kiss and smiled wearily. Yeah, it would be easier if I could talk to mother. He reached up and caressed her cheek. Don't worry, Shek, come around eventually, he replied before the news came on. Breaking news: the Green Lantern of the Justice League has just robbed the gold reserves outside of Dakota. Naruto suddenly Joe LTED up, having Barb fall to the floor. Ouch, she said, rubbing her head. Something's up. I'm heading to Dakota. If anyone asks where I went, just tell them I went to get pictures for the Daily Planet, Naruto said, walking into his office and getting dressed in his costume. He walked out, pets Hunter as he left the back door, went into the garage and sped out on his motorcycle. An hour later, Dakota Hin's residence. Virgil, in an orange long-sleeved shirt with a black 5 on each sleeve, jeans and boots, was eating breakfast with his dad and sister. This is pure garbage, Virgil said, looking at a newspaper as he He took a bite of his eggs. I hope you're not talking about my cooking, his father said, sitting down with a plate. No, this Virgil replied, throwing the paper to him. It says Green Lantern's a criminal. Virgil scoffed and got up. I don't buy it. His sister looked to him for a second. Don't be naive, just Becca. Use the Green Lantern as one of your heroes. Virgil rolled his eyes as he picked up some books by the table. You believe everything the paper tells you. He's a first-class act. All the way later, Static and Gear were patrolling and talking about the recent news with Green Lantern. Maybe he has trouble paying his Justice League dues, Gear asks, shrugging his shoulders before hearing another voice. We don't have dues. They look to see Naruto jump down on the building beside them. In fact, a couple of members don't have jobs. Cage, what are you doing here? Gear asked as Naruto crossed his arms. I'm here about Green Lantern. I think something fishy is up here, Naruto replied before they heard an explosion. Looking back, they saw a faint green glow with smoke coming up from the street. When they got dead, they saw Green Lantern stealing computer chips. Hey, what are you doing? Static asked as Naruto pulled his bow out. Wait a minute, why am I sensing fear on you, and why is the marker I placed on you about a mile away? Naruto asked before quickly pulling an arrow out. Guys, that's not GL. Naruto shot his arrow, having Green Lantern create a bubble before forming a boxing glove and hits Naruto through a building. A few minutes later, Naruto groaned, pushing the rubble off him before feeling Green Lantern's marker a few blocks away. Flashing to it, he saw a red-skinned man with black hair, mustache and pointed ears in a yellow and black version of the Green Lantern core outfit standing over Green Lantern in a junkyard. He quickly formed a Renan spiraling sphere here and hit the man in the chest, having him hit a car. You OKG? Naruto asked, seeing terror in his costume and a 5 o'clock shadow. Find Cage, this is my fight, he replied before being blinded by a light and seeing the man was gone. Naruto helped Green Lantern up. Okay, let's go somewhere safe. I put a Haitian flying thunder Godot at Static's hideout abandoned gas station. So who was that and how did this happen? Naruto asked. His Green Lantern sighed and explained, it happened a few days ago. I got a distress call about an astronaut needing help. Static and Gear came in as Naruto motioned for them to sit down. Everyone else was on a mission, so I went alone. The pilot was the only one alive. My ring was low on power, so I set my oath and call for my lantern for a recharge, but it was Sinestro who wanted my power source. He knocked me out and stole it. Now he's doing very thing to ruin my reputation, he finished as Naruto looked to Static. Why? Static asked. His Green Lantern sighed. He hates his Green Lantern. He used to be one of us until he got power hungry. He even enslaved his home planet until a team of Green Lanterns and I took him down. I still have no idea where he got a yellow power rain. Green Lantern finished as Naruto looked down and thought, I got an idea, Naruto said, looking up and smiled. A little later, Sinestro floated down and saw Naruto standing at the pumps. Well, Johnny sent his. He stopped as a light green beam hits him, knocking him through a fence and into a pile of tires. Green Lantern flew over and Sinestro attacked by creating a big hand. Green Lantern formed a ball and overwhelmed Sinestro, having him fly over to the street. I'm sorry, Johnny, but you've got more things to do, Sinestro said, transforming into him and attacked a billboard. We got it, Static said as he and Gear flew over and stopped the billboard from falling. Green Lantern collected debris and threw it at Sinestro and hits him into a container. Green Lantern welded the door shut as the others came over. Suddenly Sinestro blew out and attacked Green Lantern, who did the same. NLY Sinestro's power dwindled. Looks like your power is going out, Green Lantern said as Sinestro smirked. We're still evenly matched. Green Lantern smirked himself before Static came over and powered his rain. Green Lantern yelled as he hit Sinestro and used wires from the ground and tied him up. Green Lantern walked over and pulled Sinestro's ring off his hand and took the power from it, having it changed to a yellow ring. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil might fear my power. Green Lantern's light. Green Lantern said as a Green Lantern came and recharged his rain. His costume repaired itself and his 5 o'clock shadow was shaved off. Wow, we really need an oath, Gear said as Naruto looked up and saw something. Well, I'll be going now. I'll see you guys later, Naruto said before jumping up the building beside him. When he got to the top, he saw a teenage Ed girl with bird-like appearance with dark orange hair, purple sleeveless top and pants, sitting on a gargoyle. Teresa, he asked, making her stiffen. How do you know my name? She asked, getting ready for a fight. I'm not here to fight, I'm here to offer you a job if you will, he explained, getting her to raise an eyebrow. What kind of job? She asked, waking off the gargoyle. Just as a spy for me. You can even stay here in Dakota if you want. You would want a freak like. She stopped as Naruto raised his hand. Don't say that you're not a freak. Beside, there's a doctor who's working on a cure for the bang babies, and there's a doctor that was able to cure cheetah, he said, lifting his hand for a shake. I don't know, she said, making him look to her. It's okay, I'll let you think about it. Why do you want me? She asked as he shrugged. I see someone who wants to change and be a better person, he said, walking to the ledge. And you think of an answer. Throw this, he said, throwing a Haitian flying thunder god canny down before jumping off the ledge, having her pick it up and fly away. Lord's Univ unknown location to a man wearing a black unitard with black shoulder pads, boots and gloves. The chest area of his uniform is color D in a lighter gray with a black utility belt and a black mask with sunglasses. Lens for eyes. Was sitting in front of a monitor watching Wonder Woman and Ha Girl fight criminals. And the suit is Nightwing's attire from Young Justice without the bird, and the lens on the mask is from the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Wonder Woman has short hair without her tiara and wearing a red full bodysuit that's black around the shoulders with two big gold W's covering her chest. Hawk Girl is wearing a slim gold helmet with a dark red full bodysuit with a hawk head on the chest. His head dropped as he watched them brutally beat several petty criminals. Is Gear, now wearing a full black colored suit and a helmet with a blue visor covering his face. Sir, I know it must be hard watching the women you love. Craig. Gear stopped as the man brought his fists down on the desk, cracking it. The women I loved died the day they decided to side with Superman and rule with fear, the man said before his right arm started twitching and his hand kept forming an unform of fist. Sir, you should get that checked out, Gear said as the man sighed. Yeah, and don't call me sir. While we're in the hideout, the man got up and walked through the underground cave and past a display with a costume. He looked to see a red short-sleeved trench coat with black flames on the bottom and sleeves, Kevlar vest, black pants, recurved bow, blue lenses, sunglasses and a quiver on a self. He reached up with his left hand and removed his mask, showing Naruto with a scar going from the left side of his forehead diagonally down to the right side of his chin. 3. His right arm twitched again and he hissed as he held it. Walking down the hall, he looked up to a door with med room above it. He passed it and went to the next room with technology above the door. Walking in, he saw two male scientists working on a computer. It's acting up again, Naruto said before sitting at a table with two clamps on it. Place your arm there, the first one said, bringing up a hollow screen. Naruto took the top part of his costume off, showing several scars covering his chest and a prosthetic arm from just above the elbow down. For the arm is a lighter shade from the rest of Naruto's tan hand skin. As Naruto sat down, he placed his arm on the clamps as the man typed on a hollow keyboard. Let's see. Oh, I think I found the problem. Try moving it. Naruto tried to move his arm only to move it a little. Okay, let me try this now. Try it again. Naruto tried it again, having his wrist move a little. Okay, found the trouble now. Naruto moved his arm and wrist fluently before standing up. Thanks. As Naruto walked out, Barbara approached him in a wheelchair and wearing glasses. Naruto, we found her. We found Kurara. Naruto's eyes widened before pulling his mask on and walked down the hall, passing other heroes. Black Bat, Star Girl, come with me, I've got a mission for you. Two girls came up to him. One has blonde hair and is wearing an American flag themed attire with a dark blue mask, long-sleeved RT with white stars down the sleeves and red-white trimmed shorts, holding a golden stack. Half the other is wearing a full-body black costume similar to Batgirl's, only with a thin-lined bat symbol on her chest. Black Bat looked at him and used sign language to talk. What's the mission, Ashura? She asked. As Naruto stopped at an elevator to save Supergirl, he replied as they walked in. Saint Lab. Naruto, Black Bat and Star Girl were crawling trough event and stopped at an opening where a guard was talking on a walkie-talkie. Naruto waited for him to be done before quickly coming out of the vent and knock. Ed him out, what's the plan? Black Bat signed his Star Girl hid the guard in an empty room. Okay, what next? Star Girl asked as Naruto puts a hand to his ear. Oracle, where would they put Kara? After a moment Barbara's voice came up, most likely where they built the prison for Superman after he attacked Metro. Polis under Dark Side's control basement. Kara in a gray bodysuit was tied up in straits as a red shielded door kept her weak. She sighed as a shadow came up on the floor. Hamilton, she said weakly as a brown-haired scientist with a beard walked in. Kara, you know this can end once you accept Superman's offer. She glared before the lights flickered off. Suddenly Hamilton heard whispering, your worst nightmare coming for him. The lights turned on, showing Naruto holding Kara bridal style, Black Bat and Star Girl staring at Hamilton. Asher, I wondered if you would show up again. Naruto reached into his belt and picked up a ball. Just tell Superman the outsiders are here and we will take back control. He threw the ball down, having smoke cover the room, and disappeared with the others in a flash. When they got back to the base, Naruto put Kara down, pulled his mask above his mouth and kissed her. He pulled back a ND smiled down as Kara raised her right hand. Smack! Kurara slapped Asher hard, having him turn away from her, stood for a moment and fall face first to the floor. Kara turned to see a worried Barbara wheeling over to the downed Naruto. What did you do? Kara huffed and crossed her arms. The bastard kiss said me, I'm still not over. Naruto. She stopped as Black Bat walked over, reached down and removed Naruto's mask. Naruto. Kurara kneeled down and shook him hard. You jerk, why did you wait 2 years to let me know you're alive? Naruto lifted his right hand as swirls replaced his eyes. I didn't know where you were, he said in between shakes before Kara stopped, hugged him and cried into his chest. A few hours later, Naruto's room. Naruto groaned as he sat up and wiped his forehead. He looked to see an unconscious Kara sprawled out on the right side of his bed, sheets covering her modesty. Well, that's an interesting way to use super speed, he said as he got up, got dressed and heard a knock at his door. As he walked, he heard Barbara's voice speak up, Naruto, we have something. Naruto opened the door and smiled down at Barbara. What is it, babe? We have video of the Justice Lords at Batman's cave. That camera you hid, they foo. ND, a universe where Flash hasn't died yet and Lex isn't president. Naruto walked beside her to the monitor and saw the Justice Lords with Superman wearing a dark blue costume with a white cape that hooked around his chest with a white shield and S over red background. Green Lantern still has the same costume, with the green being a lighter shade, and bald Batman's wearing a black full-body costume with a dark gray cape and cowl and a silver bat symbol on his chest. Martian Manhunter now wearing a black full-body costume with his cape and a red globe symbol on his chest. Naruto typed on the keyboard and zoomed in to see the other universe team fighting Lex in his armor, still wearing their old costumes with Flash and himself. This is happening now, but their Flash and Cage are still alive. Naruto saw Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl look sadly at his counterpart, and they don't call themselves the Justice Lords, they're the Justice League. Batman said as they made plans to capture the others and take their justice to their universe. Okay, this could be good for us, Naruto said as he saw Batman use a gate for Jean to go over. We can get that Superman and Kara to help us since our Superman threw all the crypt Onite into the Sun League's universe. I'll put L beside the Justice Lord's name when they share the same scene as their counterpart, like Martian Manhunter. L. For this scene, Naruto shot an arrow which opened up and tied Lex up with black rope. I'll be out in days at this rate. Naruto rolled his eyes. Supergirl floated down beside him, not with a broken leg. You won't, she said as the police took him away. A green portal opened behind them as Martian Manhunter L walked through and up to Martian Manhunter. Who are you? Martian Manhunter asked as he started at his counterpart. I'm you, Martian Manhunter. L replied before explaining a fake story about both of their universes are collapsing and Batman. L built the portal for help. They agreed to help and walked through the portal with Naruto and Kara opting to stay back. I would feel better if we all weren't leaving, Naruto stated, walking out with C. Era not noticing Martian Manhunter's L's look, worried for a second. A few hours later, Watchtower, an alarm went off as Naruto typed on the keyboard. He brought up a video of the Lords lobotomizing Doomsday. What the hell, Kara, he yelled when she flew up. Clark just lobotomized Doomsday. Supergirl blinked Before seeing the news report, why are they in different costumes? Naruto looked at the Monor and narrowed his eyes. Wait, that's the other universe's Gene. I knew something felt off about him, Naruto said before picking his bow up. Let's go down and hope they haven't done any worse damage. Smallville. Naruto's house. Wonder Woman L and Hayat Girl L flew down and looked at Naruto's house sadly for a moment. It's been a while, last time we were here he just who girl trailed off as Wonder Woman opened the door. Yeah, it seems like only why yesterday when Naruto Wonder Woman stopped as Cheetah walked out of the bat room drying her hair. Oh hey, what's Hawk Girl doing here? Does she need Naruto for a mission? And what's with the quick costume change? Before they could answer, Naruto and Supergirl flashed beside Cheetah and looked to the women. Barb, that's not Diana or Shira, they're from another universe, Naruto said. Before lifting his bow and pulled back, Hawk Girl looked sadly before hesitating to bring her mace up. Cr. Shaw wouldn't hesitate to attack, Naruto said before Hawk Girl looked to him. Would yours have to fight her fiancé? She asked as the others blinked. Fiancé? Naruto, Cheetah and Supergirl asked, yelled. As Hawk Girl walked to the dumbfounded Naruto and kissed him, he blinked as she forced her tongue in his mouth before pulling back. Yes, you died right before we all could get married, she explained before Wonder Woman dashed over and did the same. I'm sorry, she said before punching him out of the house and into a tree. When he woke up, he saw his house destroyed. His Supergirl and Cheetah walked out of the rubble. I would say go after them, but we're facing a more brutal Superman, Naruto said walking over as his injuries healed. Yeah, we should regroup and hope the others make it back, Supergirl said looking at the rubble. Oracle, get the team, we'll need them, Naruto said lifting a hand to his ear. And get suited up. Lord's universe. Earlier the League walked into a metal room and looked to Martian Manhunter L, who phased through the wall. I'm sorry, he said as they were suddenly shocked into unconsciousness. L. Ader Green Lantern woke up to see himself tied standing up to an X-shaped table with a red glow coming from a room to his left. The last thing we want is to lose two more, he heard Batman L's voice come up before seeing his shadow leave. Suddenly Ashura dropped down with Kara L with short hair and wearing a white leotard with a red cape coming across her left shoulder with a symbol resembling a yellow P. New 52 Power Girl. Look 91939. Naruto heard Batman's voice before seeing Kara type the code and unlock his restraints. What are you doing, Asher? The others looked to see Batman L running downstairs, getting their help to take you down, Naruto L said as Batman L looked to Kara. Why are you helping him? He killed Naruto, he said as Naruto L snorted. No, I didn't. He took off his mask, making Batman L's eyes widen. Superman tried to when I refused to help him with his new brand of justice. He also burned my arm so I couldn't use my sage power on the people he's lobotomized. 5. He finished before flashing to Batman L and knocked him out. Let's go, Naruto L said. His flash sped to him. No, they've got Hawk Girl in a hospital around here somewhere. Is there any way we could find her? Wonder Woman asked as Batman walked up and looked to the others. Then go and find her. I need to find a portal. Flash looked at Kara L and raised an eyebrow. What's with the costume change, Super? He stopped as Kara raised her hand. Power Girl. Later Arkham Asylum. Asher and Power Girl dropped down in front of the gates followed by the others. Flash ahead only to be stopped by Superman. Wait, they'll know something's up if you walk in. Flash looked to him before pointing to his costume. Wouldn't the costume change do that anyway? No, that's what the others originally wore before they decided on a rougher treatment, Naruto stated as he rested against offense. But yeah, that would have us get her out without raising suspicion. We'll wait out here. Flash looked behind him and saw rose bushes before picking one and smells it. You shouldn't do that. Naruto looked to see Pamela in a gardener's outfit and 2 burned dots her forehead. Or soup. Rman Lotto is them now. If he didn't burn my arm off and destroy it, I would have been able to heal them, Naruto said. His Flash blinked. I still can't believe your old team would go this far, Flash said before hearing an explosion and robotic Superman L's head fell down in front of them. Well, I guess he couldn't stay under the radar, Flash said, dashing. His Power Girl and Asher had disappear in a flash. When they got inside, they saw the others fighting a bunch of Superman L robots. I got Hawk Girl, Green Lantern said before flying down the hall when he found her, and she was in a bed with an IV in her arm and strapped down to the bed. He looked down sadly before unhooking her and picked her up bridal style. He walked out and passed the others as they followed. When they got outside they saw the police and the army aiming at them. Freeze, the lieutenant said through a megaphone before Batman L dropped down. Wait, these are my prisoners, I'll be taking them with me, he said, making the people hesitate. You looked the art, but how do we know you're not with them? Batman walked up to him and glared. Are you questioning my authority, Lieutenant? The men dropped their weapons as Batman led them back inside. Wheel go out the back. Superman walked up to him and narrowed his eyes. You're good, I thought you were him. Batman was silent for a moment before answering, I am him. Later everyone gathered in the Lord Batcave as Batman L powered the portal while Flash was talking how he and Naruto were the conscious of the group. Come on, Jiminy, Green Lantern said as they walked through the portal with Naruto L and Power Girl. Wait, Naruto L turned as Batman L threw him a remote. Use that to come back home. League's universe. Everyone phased in an alleyway and walked out there. As strong as we are but willing to kill, Batman said as Superman and Ashura stopped while the others left. So what, we'll need to resort to killing? I won't cross that line. Batman just stared at him before narrowing his eyes. We can't go against them without crossing some line. Superman sighed before glancing to his right and narrowed his eyes. A few hours later, Metropolis Prison. Naruto looked up at Lex's cell as metal fell down on the door, and a second later he heard screaming. Suddenly Girl L tore the door opened and looked down. Now Batman yelled as Naruto quickly shot an arrow at her, which she dodged and flew down. Batwoman Teresa Na Rut yelled as Teresa and Batwoman, now wearing a black version of her costume with a red cape, gloves, bat symbol and boots, jumped down as Teresa flew to Hawk Girl and let out a sonic cry. Batwoman threw a batang that exploded in a bright light night as Hawk Girl L held her ears. Everyone faced their counterparts while Supergirl and Power Girl flew out as Flash threw Superman L out of a window. Supergirl and Power Girl lifted their hands as Superman flew top them. With a shout they punched him to the warden's office, creating a crater and breaking the windows. Ashara ran in just as Superman L was holding Flash against the wall. He dashed over and hit Superman L with a Renan spiraling sphere. Superman looked up and narrowed his eyes. I thought I got rid of you for good, Naruto. Yeah, well, I just don't. Stay down, Asher replied as a kunai with a green glowing tip landed in front of him. He looked back to Naruto with an outstretched arm before he blocked an attack from Hot Girl with his bow. Asher reached down and picked it up before dashed to Superman, who slowly dodged. Not used to the feelings since you got rid of ours, Ashura asked his. Supergirl and Power Girl watched from above. Asher created clones before dashing to Superman again and swiped at him, cutting his chest before kicking him into the wall, cracking it. Superman, you ready? Superman L looked up to the ceiling and saw his counterpart with Lex, who's holding a white ray gun. Do it, Superman said as Lex smiled. He shot Superman L with a yellow beam, having him fall to his knees. Lex turned around to see the others fighting before shooting each of the lords, having them fall down after Lex left while giving Superman the gun. Naruto L walked over with Power Girl to Wonder Woman L and Hawk Girl L. Kara, how could you side with him? Hawk Girl asked, gesturing to Naruto L. He killed the man we love. She stopped as Asher removed his mask and looked at them. No, Superman tried, since I wouldn't side with him and it didn't take much coding from him to have you two side with him, he said before hitting a button on the remote having a green portal me up and walked inside with the others. I think secretly you wanted to go this far. A few days later, Watchtower. Naruto flipped through the channels before stopping on one with Lex talking to reporters including Lois about his deal with them and where he'll go from there. I've had a interest in politics. Naruto quickly turned it off as the others walked in while gazing at Superman. I really hope this doesn't bite us in the ass later, he thought while standing up. Hey Hawk Girl, you're a pretty good. Kiss her, he yelled over, making Hawk Girl blink before flying over. What, she asked as he smiled. Yeah, your counterpart couldn't keep her hands off of me, not that I could blame her, he laughed as he saw her face turn red before she started chasing him around the room. Lord's Universe Watchtower. Naruto in a black t-shirt and blue jeans stood in front of the heroes he recruited for the new team picture. Justice L. EG Unlimited's first episode initiation where Superman talks to the heroes he sighed before speaking up as the UN was watching from a screen. We the new team we're going to earn the world's trust again, we won't get involved with politics or play favorites, each of us fought the lords as outsiders be. Now we're the ones to fight injustice as heroes, we're not the outsiders anymore nor are we the lords, we're the Justice Society of America. No offense to the other countries but most of the heroes are from America and was founded there. Mr. Terrific, he gestured to a African American man with a black tie on his face acting like a mask in black GR trim suit. We monitor everyone from up here deciding who'll go where and when, and after explaining to the governments about Batman's turning over a new leaf, he'll help out from time to time but we'll focus on regaining the trust back in Gotham while Power Girl will act as AR liaison at the UN. He finished before smiling. Now let's take care of business. He walked away to an elevator and pressed the down button. When it opened he saw a woman with tanned skin, green hair, eyes, tank top showing her cleavage and leather pants. Hello Naruto, we still on for tonight? She asked in a Brazilian accent. Yes fire, I just need to do something, he replied as she smiled and walked past him swaying her hips. After checking her out until she was out of sight he went in the elevator and pressed the last level. When he got there he saw several cells and guards standing by the exits. He walked past Superman who punched his door but groaned as a red light turned on. I'll get out of here. Oh come on, don't be that way Supes, why can't you like me? Lois likes me especially after last night. I never knew she was that limber and flexible, Naruto said with a grin as Superman punched door again. He laughed before walking to where Barbara, Kara and Cheetah, now wearing a black tank top, leather pants and had short red hair, were standing in front of Diana's and Shara's cell. He looked to see Diana and Shira without her helmet, having strands of hair coming down in front of her face. Well, it's been a while since we were all together, Naruto said, bringing several chairs over and sat down on one as Diana and Shira looked to him. Kent Farm 6 A.M. Naruto, shirtless and wearing faded blue jeans with holes at the knee, was feeding the pigs as Diana, wearing a white tank top and jeans with black tennis shoes, was carrying several square bales of hay over her head to the barn. Naruto looked back to see Barb in her disguise milking the cows as Kara went to get eggs from the chicken house. He sighed before thinking about the lords as he saw a crane lifting his roof on his new house. I Street. Can't believe that universe heroes went that far. Al's Flash, and technically I died, and with Lex going into politics I just hope our Clark has a cooler head, he thought before looking to the girls and back to his house. Should be a few months until they're finished, good thing I'm also building it. Igor also with the Kents giving me 5 acres of their land to use, he said as he walked over as Kara sped out of the chicken CP with the chickens jumping in the air as she went to do other chores. It doesn't matter what happened in that reality because we're different, our events should play out differently or don't occur at all, but the lords coming here may have changed that, he thought before walking to help Diana. Everyone has seen the news. Luther planning on getting into politics and he's determined enough to get what he wants. If the lords had just stayed out there, Luther never would have been pardoned and would have kept his criminal status by trying to keep events from repeating themselves. The lords inadvertently put into action the very events necessary for that stuff. He stopped at the door before taking a breath and walked inside, and the others not letting Flash be out of their so that they can protect him and be sure that Armageddon never happens. Later Naruto sighed as he saw a blonde-haired man talk to Flash and turning things to his side as they argued on the League's appearance as heroes. Gordon has a silver tongue but Flash is doing everything but loading the gun for him, he said as he heard P. Kent cough loudly. He's been doing that a lot lately. Naruto picked up his cell and dialed John. Hey, are you watching Flash? He asked, and after a second John replied, I was talking to him before he sped off. He bought a van with a design that matches his costume and wants to take a road trip. Naruto shrugged at that before speaking. Sounds like fun, maybe when we have the time, but it seems like there's a problem once a week here. Naruto looked to see Cheetah out of her disguises since she was inside. I checked Jonathan to see about his coughing fits and I think he has cank. Later Watchtower Wonder Woman Green Lantern and Flash the group watched Gordon Godfrey rant about them and how Chicken to answer to his invites to his shows what invites he never sent any. Naruto said his Wonder Woman huffed what a rude little man, someone needs to teach him a lesson, she said before. Green Lantern spoke up, it'll just encourage him. Gordon started showing pictures of Wonder Woman fighting role models of seen more modesty on a show girl and cages practicing polygamy. How are they good role models? Crack. Wonder Woman punched the screen and broke it. I will not tolerate this, she started walking as Green Lantern stood in her way. I don't like him any more than you do, princess, but in this country we have freedom of speech. Naruto snorted before speaking. That protects him from the government, not from me. Besides, he needs to realize I'm from a different world where the views on these things are different, and Kar is one of the last Kryptonians. She and Clark will be bringing them back at some point, Naruto said before Wonder Woman spoke up, and it was common for people to have multiple spouses back before my people went to the Misha. That's democracy for you. Hey, didn't the Greeks invent that? Flash asked Wonder Woman, who narrowed her eyes before walking to a window and looked at her reflection. And what's wrong with the way I dress? Naruto lifted his hand to speak, but Flash beat him to the punch. Well, if you ask me, I'd say there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you wear. In fact, your minimalistic style costume is very functional. Nothing restricts you in a fight from giving free movement on your arms and legs, and it also shows off your femininity and shows that you're very proud of your body. You're not afraid at all to restrict yourself to old age social and cultural standards of how much skin you should show off, pretty much the standards that everyone else can accept. At times Wonder Woman cross her arms before speaking. Does my outfit offend people? I wear my armor with pride because it's a part of my heritage and from the gods. Flash nodded at her before speaking up. Why? I can understand that clearly. I, as well as the rest of the team, have no problem at all with your costumes, since there are those that have a similarity of showing certain parts of the body, but with most people they don't think it's appropriate at all to wear so little or revealing certain areas of the body in public. Wonder Woman narrowed her eyes at that. Because I showed too much skin or being too revealing? That's absurd. Why should anyone cover up their body for any reason other than to keep warm? I am not ashamed of myself at all. Flash nodded, ignoring the stunned looks from Naruto and Green Lantern. I totally agree with you there. The female body is a very beautiful thing, but you need to remember that there are different customs around the world that would see things differently and could be accepting or be offended on certain issues or other stuff. If you want to change your attire to bend to their social standards, go ahead. If you don't want to do that, then maybe add something to your current attire, like wearing leggings that can complement the rest of your outfit with some minor changes if necessary. If not on both options, then just continue wearing what you have on now. Ignore everything else, keep doing what you're doing and wait to have others understand your way of thinking. Diana quietly walked out of the room as a slack-jawed Naruto spoke up. What the hell was that? Flash looked to him and blamed what Naruto deadpanned at him. Don't what me, where was that when you were talking to Godfrey? I think hell just froze over. Flash shrugged at that. I had that ready because I heard people talking about her later. Flash's agent office. Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern and Naruto. Come on Artie, how did Godfrey get that film? I look like a jerk in it. I was going to donate the money from that endorsement to the Central City Orphanage to fund their supplies for the next year. Now because of that hogwash I'm going to need a different way to raise the money, Flash said as his agent sat behind his desk. I don't know, but hey, there's no such thing as bad publicity, he replied, eyeing Wonder Woman. And speaking of publicity, how about I get you a swimsuit cover? Wonder Woman grabbed him and lifted him up. You think I can be bought and sold? Rai was about to speak up until he felt a sharp object on his crotch. Looking down, he saw Naruto holding a knife. For obvious reasons, the answer is no. Naruto simply said until an explosion went off and the light cut off. It's the power plant, Green Lantern said, seeing fire and smoke come from the power plant. They ran and flew up to the plant. Here they saw a man in a black costume, blue face paint and pink cap on, with a dark purple crystal around his neck. Shooting a gun. Wonder Woman, go and get him, we'll handle the fire, Naruto yelled before going through hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground. Go and do heki earth release earth style wall, a 3-storied wall cam up his Green Lantern added to that on the top. We need water, Flash nodded before dashing to the river and created a water spout. He brought it back and doused the fire before dashing inside with Naruto following after. Hey princess, we got the fire, need any help? Flash asked before hearing Wonder Woman from above. No, everything is fine. Looking up they saw Wonder Woman holding the man who's responsible before dropping him. Hey Naruto, and Flash ran over and caught the man that was too far. Wonder Woman, Naruto said as she flew down. It's not like he didn't deserve it. Naruto blinked before walking with Flash, who's carrying the man, not noticing Wonder Woman hold up a crystal and started umming. Later police station. Naruto side is the man, a general from the army, denied doing the fire and stealing a defense mechanism. I swear I don't know what you're talking about, and unless you're planning to blow up a star, that weapon's only good for nuclear defense. Naruto crossed his arms before sig hing softly. He's telling the truth, but I don't know if they'll believe me. With Gordon's show, almost everyone either afraid of us or is leaning towards hating us. The Lord's coming over here for a day didn't help either, he thought before walking out with the others. He is telling the truth. Mind control. Maybe, Naruto asked, walking out as the people took a wide berth away from them. Look at that, they're afraid of us, Green Lantern commented as Flash looked around. Can you blame them? Godfrey got them spooked. Naruto glanced around before hearing Wonder Woman speak up. Men are fools. He looked up to see her arrow her eyes at them before walking away with them. Following as they followed, someone knocked their heads together, knocking them out. As Naruto came to, he saw an old man with long gray hair, beard and Roman armor with a red crystal looking at Wonder Woman. The crystal still glowed, making her scream and fall unconscious. The man brought a broadsword up and was about to cut her. He suddenly saw a tri-pronged kunai before seeing a yellow flash and was knocked out. Later hospital. Naruto and Flash looked at Mafia, who has a straight jacket on, as he was speaking in an odd third person when he talked before looking to a doctor. Is he all right, doc? Flash asked as the doctor looked to him. Hallucination, we gave him something to calm him down but it's not responding. As they left, Mafia suddenly spoke up. Now man's time forever eclipse. They looked back and walked over. That's the second time we've heard that tonight, so either you're sharing your delusion with that general, why don't you explain? Mafia went on to explain how long time ago men fought against an ancient snake people civilization and was winning, so the snake people, in a desperate attempt for revenge, put their souls into a crystal that'll Veer holds it and use them to ruin humanity and find ways to destroy the sun, and now he's the last guardian of the dark heart to keep people away from it. And how Wonder Woman was the latest that was possessed by the crystal and attacked her. Okay, how do we free the person that's been possessed? Naruto asked as Mafia gestured to his crystal. 2 ways: use that crystal's light or take the person's head off, he explained as Naruto sighed, like you would do for a real snake. Watchtower. Naruto and Flash finished explaining things to Martian Manhunter and Supergirl what Mafia said before running to check Wonder Woman. When they got to the medbay, they found her sitting up and holding her head. You okay, Diana? Naruto asked, staying near the door. Yes, but a lots of blur though. Okay, you relax and don't move, Flash said before dashing to the others as Cheetah walked to Naruto, who followed after. Flash, can you do one of those mind swipes on Diana? Flash asked as Naruto walked over. Not now, there's been a breach in the Javelin Bay. See, what did I tell you? Flash said before hearing Superman's voice. Let's not jump to conclusions, let's bring up the tapes. Jean typed on the computer and brought up a video of him stealing something off the bottom of the Javelin. I don't understand, I have no memory of this. Where have I heard that before? Flash asked before dashing off and came back holding Mafair's crystal. That old guy said this would drive off the spirits. Flash said his Green Lantern scoffed. Really? Flash used the crystal on JN and Diana, having nothing happen to them. When he lifted it up to Superman, Green Lantern shot it and broke it as he held up the dark heart. Foolish humans, your time has come. He formed a cobra with his ring as Girl flew up and used her mace that got caught in its mouth. Superman and Supergirl flew up and opened its mouth as Green Lantern shot a beam at them. Naruto quickly shot an arrow that opened into a rope that wrapped around Green Lantern as Wonder Woman wrapped her lasso around him and brought him down. John grabbed Green Lantern and made him drop the dark heart at Ha-Girl's feet. Careful, don't touch it, Flash said as Ha-Girl's mace glowed with electricity. No one will ever again. She brought her mace down and shattered the dark heart, having Naruto create a wind jutsu to blast shards away from him as Flash dashed past the ones that flew to him. Hey, watch it, would you? He stopped Naruto grabbed his bow and an arrow. Looking to the others, he saw shards stuck to them in their arms and face. Naruto cursed his Supergirl and Cheetah dashed to him. He hear Ian flying thunder god to his room just as the lights went off. Come out, human, he heard Supergirl's voice speak up before hearing Cheetah hum. Naruto quickly turned around just as Supergirl flew through the wall and pushed him through several before he disappeared with a pillow. She looked around as Naruto moved in a vent and went down an opening before sliding to Flash. They heard the others talking about blowing the sun up before Green Lantern threw a bomb out of an airlock. It seems like once a week the world's in danger or there's someone trying to rule it, doesn't it? Naruto asked before going down one vent way. Go to the med bay and I'll try communications to reach Batman for help. As Naruto dropped down, he picked up a headset. Hey Bat, he stopped as two red lasers went through his left shoulder and dropped down to his knees. He looked up to see Supergirl with red glowing eyes. He tried to get up only to get hit in the leg before throwing a smoke bomb and limped down the hall to an empty room with a giant light. Florida's limped in with burns on him before hearing humming. Suddenly they saw the others walk in with green glowing eyes. You know, like Granny Flash used to say, why curse the dark when you can light up a 700,000 watt candle? Flash yelled before turning on the light, getting the others to scream as the shards fell off of them onto the ground and snake-shaped smoke came out of them. Naruto sat down as the others came to end. Flash explained about the sun exploding later after getting a plan to use the Javelin's warp drive to create a wormhole to suck up the tainted material that's destroying the sun with FL. Ash and Green Lantern using their combined powers to pull it off. Supergirl looked to Naruto still holding his shoulder looked to Supergirl. What happened to your shoulder? Injured in a small explosion caused by you all destroying the lights, he replied as a bright light came from near the and a wormhole appeared a few days later. Back cave. Naruto in his costume with his arm in a sling walked up to Batman, who's working on the portal. Picture the one the Lords used. It should be ready in a few months. A chunk of that time will be because we're looking for your world, Batman said as Naruto nodded. How's Clark doing after it has been confirmed his father has cancer? He's hole up on his fortress trying to find a cure. It's really hurting him, Naruto replied, staring at the portal as Barbara walked down the steps to him. Naruto, Jean, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern and Hayat Girl. Naruto moved his left hand in front of his face as a breeze blew snow in his face. He looked at another planet that was coming in relatively close to the alien one he was currently on. Naruto and the others are on fixing an anti-gravity device that was able to move the planets away from each other. He saw Jean flew down and sent out a mental command to both inhabitants of the plants on the progress. Naruto looked back and saw Hawk Girl wearing a beige coat carrying several boxes. Can you help? He nodded before taking several boxes as Green Lantern and Superman fixed the dome-shaped device. He jumped over several boulders before dropping down in front of the devices. Flash dashed over and started taking the pieces for the device and quickly hooked them up to the device. Flash status report. Jan spoke through the earpiece as he was mentally giving Flash instructions. Just keep giving me the instructions and I'll have it done, Flash replied, quickly typing on a keyboard before smiling. Now the top part of the dome opened up and a blue energy field covered the planet thereon, having it move away from the other planet. The ice planet's orbit is stabilizing, Superman said, looking at a small device. These two worlds will never collide again and the inhabitants are sending us their gratitude and thanks, JN said as his eyes glowed. Nice way to kick off the Christmas break, Flash said as the javelin hovered down to them. You said it, Superman replied as they walked inside Hawk Girl. Hawk Girl looked back at Naruto, who Walked behind her. Hey, want to send the holidays with Cheetah and Ikara, and Barbara won't be back till Christmas Day. She looked down for a moment before shrugging. Sure, why not? He smiled as they left in the javelin. December 23, Naruto's house. Early morning. Naruto woke up to a weight on his chest. He looked down and saw Cheetah sleeping on his chest and smiled. He tried to get up carefully before she wrapped her hands around his stomach. No warm, she mumbled, causing him to sigh. He created a clone and switched places with it before walking out of his large bedroom. He walked down the hall, seeing 8 other rooms along with a bathroom. Before heading down the stairs, he looked to his right as soon as he got to the first floor and saw a large living room with a fireplace and a 50-feet flat screen TV above it, a Christmas tree in the corner to the left and a table to the right looking at the snow cover. Field and woods. Looking to his left, he saw the kitchen with a black granite island in the middle. Walking to the living room, he saw his office lair with the door open, showing a wooden desk and laptop on it. As he went to the tree and reached to his left wrist and unsealed a small rectangular gift with Barb on a tag and dropped it under the tree. He heard a groan, looked back and saw Shira walking down the stairs in black pajamas and her helmet. I don't understand this time of year, she said as Naruto shrugged. He opened his mouth only for a snow-covered Hunter comes running in the living room and into Naruto. Down boy, good thing I paid extra for pet-proof floors, he said, taking Hunter through the kitchen and into the laundry room. I think it's just everyone's happy to see friends and family. It's not really about the gifts, Naruto said, drying Hunter before putting on a blue bandan with Hunter Written in white on it around his neck. I'll be visiting Clark and his parents tomorrow, and they'll be here on Christmas Day when Kara and Barbara get back from their ski trip. So what did you get Barb? Catnip, Hawk Girl asked, making Naruto chuckle. No, I got her something special for our first Christmas too. Together. Naruto walked back to the living room and started a fire before walking to the couch and picked up several DVDs. Let's see, It's a Wonderful Life, Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and a few S-Claus movies I think were good. Hey, is breakfast ready yet? Naruto looked to Barb walking down the stairs, tail wagging a little. Soon, I just got up myself. I'm making pancakes, Naruto said, dropping the DVDs down as he and Ha Girl followed after. Barb, so is it yours and Car's first Christmas? No, it's our second, Naruto replied as he walked in the kitchen. Hey, what did you get Ba? I got him some gray ghost memorabilia signed by the main actor. Hayat Girl shrugged before answering. Gift card? I really don't know what to give him. Diana the Miss cheered. Diana walked nervously with her mother to their home. Calm down, Diana, that friend of yours. Naruto pulled a favor or two with the gods so you could come here for that holiday. You're really lucky to have him. Diana smiled at that before releasing a sigh. Yes, I am. As they got to the house, Diana saw several of her sisters inside talking. Naruto explained how this time of year is to be with your family, so I thought we could give it a try. Hippolyta explained as they started talking to everyone with John. John sighed as he fixed his tie, wearing a black suit, staying outside of a restaurant. I can't believe they set me up on a blind date, he said, until he heard a female's voice speak up. John. He looked back and saw a African American woman with short hair wearing a golden brown dress with hoop earrings and a claw necklace. She's Vixen. Yes, Mari, she nodded before walking over to him. Yes, nice to meet you, he nodded before tucking her inside the restaurant. Flash Orphanage. December 24th. Flash sped in and smiled at the kids that were in IG playroom. Ho ho ho, he laughed in a deep voice as the kids ganged up on him and an African American woman walked over to him. Merry Christmas, guys, have you been good this year, he asked, making the kids nod. You can bet they're good if it means seeing their favorite hero, the woman said, making Flash smile. And don't forget about the present he brings. What's it going to be this year? The kids dragged him over to a TV showing a commercial of a duck doll dressed as a rapper before ending the commercial by farting. Okay, raping rubber ducky it is, he said, making the woman sigh. Don't get their hopes up, stores everywhere has been sold out, please. I made Gorilla Grodd cry. Uncle, I can get a rapping duck, Flash replied before speeding away as the kids cheered. Later, Flash sped to the last store in the city only to find it crowded as parents yelled about the duck being sold out. He sighed until he saw a small Robotic Santa working on toys making him snap his fingers. I got it all, just go to the source. He sped down the street and stopped at a toy factory in Japan. He walked out holding the duck doll with the CEO. Hey, thanks again, this will make those kids Christmas. The CEO bowed at him before Flash sped off. Clark and John K. Farm. No way was I going to let you stay alone in the watchtower. Besides, Batman practically begged for monitor duty, Clark said, holding two big gifts over his shoulders as he and John walked up to his parents' door. Clark, Martha said, walking to the door, and hugged Clark as he walked in. Dad doing okay? Yes, even Naruto's been trying to see if that healing power of his can help with this, she replied as Jonathan walked in, a little more skinny than he was before. Naruto in a black sweatshirt, Barb in a red and white sweater, and Hawk Girl wearing black jean in a green sweater walked in. As Jean walked in with Clark, who put the present under the tree. Later, everyone's in the kitchen drinking hot chocolate as Jonathan was telling about Clark's childhood Christmases. We had to wrap his presents in lead paper so he couldn't peek. He finished before Clark looked to him. You mean Santa wrap? Martha walked over and gave Jean a present. Clark told us you're alone this year and we don't allow anyone to go home without a present. John looked at it for a second. But I didn't get you a present. She smiled at him before speaking. Nonsense, your presence is all we need. Jean took the gift, opened it and pulled out a very muscular sweater. Our group at the community center always make extra. Jan puts the sweater on as Martha looked at it. It might be a little big. Jan grew more muscular as he smiled. I can always grow into it with Flash. His Flash got back to the city. An explosion went off at a museum. Running in, he saw several melted exhibits. Putting the doll down, he looked around. Man, someone did a number in here, he said before a male voice spoke up. I haven't even started. Ultra Humanite walked out of the smoke holding a laser gun. Can you believe the funding going to this so-called art? He sighed at Flash, making him dash around the room before running to him and punched him. Crack. No, Flash pulled him away, showing the duck doll's broken. Oh, I broke your toy, Humanite taunted as Flash tried to put the toy back together. Wasn't mine, I was going to give to some kids who really wanted it. Humanite LKED away with a snort. They would have been better off with a book. Don't you remember getting worked up for something, then the heartbreak when not getting it? Flash asked, making Humanite nod. Yes, you and your team do it to me quite often. Flash sighed before standing up. No, I was talking about Christmas. Humanite snorted again. Oh yes, that's real for someone who claims to personify human advancement. I thought you know what it means to spread goodwill, especially to kids that need it. I was hoping they'd do it to when they grew up. Flash finished looking to the door as Humanite sighed a not unworthy aspirate. Ion, he cocked his gun before Flash spoke. Woke up, go ahead and use it. Not like I'll feel any worse when he finished. Humanite knocked him out. Later, Flash groaned getting up and saw Humanite work on the duck doll. You'll be happy to know, Flash, your words did not fall on deaf ears. I appreciate the sentime. NT and call it truce in honor of the season, Humanite said, holding his hand out. Having Flash shaking it seriously. Humanite nodded. Yes, you'll have your toy, and with some improvements it won't blow up, right? Humanite looked to him with an annoyed look. It's Christmas now, hand me that screwdriver later. EY walked to the orphanage with Flash wearing a Santa beard and hat. I won't wear it, Humanite complained as Flash put a top hat on his head. Hey, we don't want to scare them, do we? They walked in and gave the kids the doll as it glowed and told the kids a Christmas story in Humanite's voice. I like that. Also, Flash said with a smile. Naruto bar and hot girl Nar stumbled inside as he held Barb up. Should have gone easy with the eggnog, Barb, Nar said as Barb giggled before hiccuping. He put her on the couch before seeing hot girl was still outside. Something wrong, he asked as she sighed. No, I was just hoping to start a fight at a bar like I did last year. Well, want to spar? She raised an eyebrow at that. What, I won't go easy on ya, he replied with a smile before jumping over the house. As she flew over, she was hit in the face with a snowball before Naruto jumped back up and kicked her down. Low blow. Naruto CK led at that. I didn't say there were any rules. She flew up and punched him down to the ground before flying down with a smile on her face. Later they walked in and took off the coats. Better, Shira, she nodded as Naruto went to the kitchen. Naruto looked back from under the doorway as she stepped P to him, making him cough. What he pointed up and she saw mistletoe hanging above them. It's tradition to kiss under it. She blushed a little before leaning up. He leaned down to give her a soft kiss. After a moment of kissing, hot girl started to fiercely kiss Naruto, who gained a shocked look. She pulled back with a smile before walking away with a sway in her hips. Well, I knew she wanted me, Naruto said before going into the kitchen to get something to sober up Barb. More eggnog, Barb yelled before hiccup again with Flash. Flash dashed into his bedroom before taking off his costume, showing short red hair. He looked to his nightstand and smiled sadly at several pictures. One was of a 20-year-old in a costume similar to his with reversed colors and a woman with pink hairs pulled into two pigtails. Merry Christmas, Jinx, wherever you are. He looked at a frame holding two worn-out pictures, both of him as a Tay. One was with his parents, both have red hair, and another was him with a woman who is half Caucasian and half Vietnamese. Girl of average height. She has olive-toned skin with long thick blonde hair pulled into a ponytail and dark gray eyes. She is slender in stature yet has an athletic build. And Merry Christmas, Mom, Dad, Artemis. He finished before walking to the bathroom. Army Metropolis docks. We found him, sir. There's no one that beg, a soldier said, looking through a heat signature telescope at a building and saw Grundy inside a building. All units are in position, sir, another said as the sergeant nodded. Ed, get his attention. The men outside shot a rocket at Grundy, who was coming out of the building. Boom. The sergeant walked out as one of the men looked to him. Got him, sir. The sergeant shook his head before speaking up. I've heard that before. Check for a body. Suddenly the ground shook. His Grundy picked a piece of rubble and threw it at them. Leave Grundy alone, he shouted before attacking the soldiers before getting hit with yellow beans as they brought a safe to keep Grundy in. A Hydra came out of the water with Aquaman riding on it and dropped down to attack the soldiers. Aquaman destroyed the tanks before jumping back on the Hour's head and looked to Grundy. If you want to live, come with me. Smallville, Naruto's house. Naruto walked down the steps into the basement and saw Hayate girl lifting weights in his workout room. You know you can take off your helmet. We are alone here, Naruto commented, picking a water bottle off a table beside the stairs and walked over. Hot girl stopped her workout and sat up as Naruto handed her the bottle. Yeah, I just feel more comfortable with it on his all, she replied, taking a sip of the water. Oh come on, Cheryl, let me see your pretty face, she sighed before moving to leave. Her helmet off. Cage Ha girl, there's trouble at the docks in Metropolis. You're needed with Superman and Wonder Woman. Naruto sigh as Jean's voice came over speakers onto the wall. Well, duty calls, Shay said, walking past Naruto and pinched his cheek. Damn it, why doesn't that happen when I'm in trouble? With the girls, he winded, walking up the stairs as a storm cloud formed over his head. Later, Tower of Fate. Aquaman walked with Grundy to a room where a woman was waiting for them. She has tan skin and long black hair pulled into a ponytail. She's wearing a yellow long-sleeved shirt and aqua blue paint with cross earrings. I assume this is Grundy, she asked as Grundy walked up to her. You have Grundy's gold, Grundy asked as Aquaman walked to a chest and opened it. Here you go, brute, Aquaman said, walking to the other side of the room as the woman brought a tray of food over. Suddenly an ankh-shaped porta came up in front of them before a man flew out. He's wearing a blue full-body suit with a golden helmet cap and gold-trimmed boots and gold gloves. Sorry to keep you waiting, I have a kingdom to rule, don't keep me waiting next time, Aquaman replied as the man floated over. You must be Grundy, I am Dr. F.A. Fate introduced himself before stopping in front of Grundy. Before we begin, I must know, how did you become as you are? Grundy looked confused at the question before replying. Grundy doesn't remember. Fate puts his hands on Grundy's head before seeing Grundy's lost memories. He explained Grundy was Seer Gold, a mobster in the 1920s that was killed by rivals because of his greed for gold and was thrown in a cursed swamp that brought him back to life many years later as the dead man Grundy. He meets our needs. Fate finished as Aquaman looked to him. Then let's get to it. Atlantis is my only concern. Gr. Undy shook his head before speaking up. No, Grundy wants something. Aquaman walked over to him and glared. You already have your gold. He stopped as Grundy pushed the chest over to the wall and broke it. Grundy not want gold. Grundy looked to them and continued. Grundy wants what the men took from him. Docs Superman Naruto Wonder Woman and Ha-Girl Superman caught a falling tank and put it on a trailer before looking to the sergeant. Looks like you needed a hand. The sergeant glared at him before speaking. We had more than enough help from your kind. He explained that Aquaman saved Grundy and took him away. On a sea creature later they're flying the javelin and discussing about Aquaman. He must have his reason, Naruto said looking out the window as he sat behind Ha-Girl. No, the only thing he cares about is his city. Hawk-Girl replied as Superman looked to her. Let's not jump to conclusions, Superman said. Try to calm Hawk-Girl down. Do you ever get chafed straddling the fence all the time? Hawk-Girl asked Superman before Wonder Woman spoke up. What's that? Naruto stood up and saw a kraken attacking a cruise liner. Okay, that's not AF, that's part of our world, he said before Wonder Woman puts the javelin in H. Over and they jumped, flew out. Naruto took out his bow and shot several exploding arrows at tentacles that came on board as the others attacked above the water. Would you quit saying that? Naruto looked over. His Wonder Woman broke free from a tentacle and Superman with a bruise on his chest came out of the water. Hotg girl catch, Superman yelled, throwing her mace to her. A few moments later the attack stopped and the heroes flew to Atlantis. They were escorted to Maya and explained the attack and Aquaman helping Grundy. He's with Dr. Fate. If it's important he'll contact you, Mara replied as Hot Girl G. Lared. That's not good enough, Mara glared right back before speaking. This council is over, Mara said walking away as an angry Hawk Girl tried to follow only for the guards preventing her from moving. Tower of Fate. Fate, Superman yelled at the stone tower. Superman walked over and punched it only for nothing to happen as a shield formed around it. Let me try, Hot Girl said bringing up her mace and hits a hole in the tower. What the hell? Naruto asked, seeing a galaxy inside with stairs after you. Hey, Hot Girl said as they walked inside. As they got to the top they saw Dr. Fate, Ina, Grundy and Aquaman doing a rit. UAL as Grundy screamed out. Wonder Woman flew over only for a yellow shield to appear around the group and sent her back. She tried to get up only for wrappings to wrap around her tightly as Inza attacked. Hot Girl swung her mace and knocked Inza out as the shield dispersed. You fools, do you have a NY idea what you've done? Aquaman said pointing his trident at them. Stopping you from hurting Grundy, Superman replied before Grundy attacked with Aquaman. You take the magician, your ma is messing with him, Wonder Woman said looking at Aquaman. For the record I didn't start this fight, Hayat Girl said. His Wonder Woman smirked. First time for everything. Fate sent them away as Naruto and Hayat Girl stayed and attacked. The fights will be canon and will be skipped, Hayat Girl screamed as she attacked Fate as Naruto looked on, well not prepared to fight magic. He thought his Hot Girl continued to fight before others walked up with an unconscious Grundy and Aquaman. It's time to explain what you're doing, Superman said before a bright light blinded them for a second and a monster with tentacles came out of a portal. For better image look at the terror beyond episode. Well, Naruto cursed looking at the monster as Aquaman and Grundy stood up. Fate flew up and started chanting as Ha-Girl flew up and started chanting with him. Soon the monster went away as Fate and Ha-Girl came down. Where did you learn that incantation? Fate asked as Hot Girl looked to him. Anthanar, it's the closest thing we have to a prayer, she replied as Aquaman walked over. Is it over? He asked as Fate shook his head. No, only the beginning. Hyun, come back again, we need to complete the original spell. Ino walked to Fate with a worried look. You don't have the strength, nor do I have the choice, Fate replied holding her hand. Fat sighed before creating smoke and explained how the monster Eichel to attack Atlantis with sea monster from his world during when it was still above land, and how the leader called upon the magic of the earth to make the current trident to banish Eichel to only for the magic holding Atlantis up to be used and sank the city, and finally they were making a spell to banish them again when they came. I won't let you torture Grundy again, Wonder Woman said as Hawk Girl sighed. It's not torture, more of a sacrifice, she said as they looked to her. Hawk Girl explained how when Thanagar was still primitive IKU Lu came and gave them everything to thrive until they stopped leaving him for sacrifices. Is there another way? Naruto asked as Ha-Girl nodded. Yes, we go to his world and kick his ass, she replied tightening her hold on her mace. It's too risky, we need to stick to the spell, Aquaman said as Fate looked Onan thought no, this could be better than relying on broken spells, he said as Aquaman scoffed. No, I came here to save Atlantis, nothing else. He picked up his trident, his fate side, and sent him home. He turned to the others and transported Albert Inza to the other world. Wow, Naruto said, seeing the red sky and bits of land floating around. For better picture look at this episode. They continued walking down the road. Suddenly aliens came out of the ground and attacked them. Naruto took out multiple heron, flying thunder god guy, and threw them around and flashed between the aliens. He cuts the Kunai as Grundy and Superman created a shock wave by slamming the ground, getting rid of the rest. Look, Naruto looked up to see aquatic aliens flying to a portal to their world. Kid, let me out, I can help with that. Naruto heard Kurama before creating a clone for Kurama to take over here. Follow this path, Fate said, creating a walkway for Kurama, Superman, and Wonder Woman to follow. Naruto picked up a regular tipped arrow as they neared Ikulta. I feel him, Fate said as Naruto and Hawk Girl got ready. Where? Hawk Girl asked before the ground shook everywhere. Iulta came up and stared at Hawk Girl with Is tentacles. Who are you? He asked as Hawk Girl glared at him. I am Shirao. Hawk Girl, you stink of Thanagar. ICHU said as she nodded. I'm a Thanagarian. Several of Ikultu's forces came out of the ground as Ikulu took Hawk Girl to talk. Naruto shot several arrows at the heads of the beings, killing them as added attack with bolts of light magic, while Grundy ripped apart the ones near him. Kurama, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Kurama jumped through most of the enemy forces as Wonder Woman and Superman punched them before noticing that they were flying back inside. Suddenly Aquaman bursts out of the stomach of one and shoots a blast of lightning at one before yelling up, I can plug up the portal with my trident but need something, but what's big enough to? Superman trailed off as he sees a large boulder floating near them. That'll work. Wonder Woman and Superman flew over as Kurama built up chakra in his Oath Bu Dama Bu bomb. He shot a black ball of chakra at the enemies and smirked as it exploded. As they plugged up the hole, they flew to the others and saw HWK girl kneeling over a dead Grundy's body. Later they stood outside Metropolis at a T-stone marked Solemn and Grundy, born on a Monday. I tried make it according to human standards, HW girl said as she looked at the grave. He was happy at the end. I still don't understand why she finished as Aquaman looked to her. It's faith. Hawk Girl, you're not supposed to understand, you just have it. He bowed his head before leaving with the others, leaving Hawk Girl alone with Naruto, who wrapped his arm around her shoulder. He smiled at her before walking to the grave and putting incense onto the top of the grave and clapped his hands together in prayer. Metropolis. Naruto, Supergirl, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. Nighttime. Supergirl held Naruto as Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern flew above the city. Green Lantern puts a hand on his earpiece. A guard over at the TCH lab says there's a robbery. Sounds like a friend of ours is back in business, Green Lantern said before Martian Manhunter spoke up. Shade, how did you write? I keep forgetting Gray. Lantern replied as they flew to the lab. As they got to the lab, Supergirl dropped Naruto over a skylight and flew to the other side. Naruto took out his bow and turned on the laser as he ducked as a masked man took a swing at him before turning on his feet and kicked him. Naruto punched him out E4, dodging bullets being fired from the rafters and shot an arrow up. The arrow exploded in a multitude of lights and Naruto jumped up to attack the men on. Naruto turned around to see a man fly through a window from another room and fell down to the ground. Naruto jumped down and caught the man before he hit the ground. Supergirl FW in with her eyes glowing. Whoa, Supergirl. Naruto stopped her by putting his hands on her shoulders. You all right? You and the others have been acting off lately, he said as her eyes returned to normal. I'm fine, Cage. It's not like he doesn't deserve it anyway, but T crosses the line, the same line that our counterparts crossed, Naruto said as she huffed. Mine and yours didn't. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her. You almost did. We are not them. There's a chance we could cross that line. She glared at him until they heard the others yell. Later they met the others at a rooftop a few miles away. What's the problem? Superman asked. His Green Lantern explained they haven't been acting like a team and need to train in teamwork. Not noticing a flying camera just behind them. Shade, unknown location. Shade was at first grateful for the ride earlier when needing to escape from Th. E-League members, but now he wasn't so sure now with the person walking him into a cave. The person in question was a tall red-haired woman who's wearing a coat, glasses and head wrap. To top it all off, once in the open area of the cave, Shade saw Copperhead taking out dummies Vulcan, setting fire to theirs while Sinestro was breaking a statue of Green Lantern. A purple-skinned man with light purple markings on his body was draining the energy of bats with his hands. A woman with light blue skin, short dark blue hair, wearing a blue leotard and white furred coat, Young Justice Killer Frost, and a man earring a two-toned armor and helmet, black on the right side and rust orange on the left with two eye holes, was leaning against a wall. One Shade looked back to see the woman he came with took off her coat, showing a short pink dress with one strap over her left shoulder, trying to bring back the Injust Ice League. He asked to. She shook her head. No, we're a society, a secret society. Shade snorted at that call. It what you want, it won't work. I know, I tried twice. A door opened up and Shade looked back to see Grodd. Well, you know what they say, third time's the charm. Grodd took Shade up to a room as the Others trained and did team building exercises, trying to get them to trust each other. Hush, Shade asked as Grodd had his hands behind his back. Not the easiest with loners, sociopaths, psychos and mercenaries. He went on to explain that they're not in it for the money. Parasite hates the super cousin Sinestro. Hates the Green Lantern Corps and swore a blood oath for their destruction. Copperhead jumped at the chance to face Cage, same with Deathstroke, who also wants to face Batman, although he is the only one who has contract. Vulcana is paying rent by working for me since she just broke out of prison. Gigant Eye's devoted to me and Killer Frost just likes to kill. He finished as Shade looked to him and me. I suppose you've got that figured out too. Grow smirked before answering. You're a master criminal, Shade, but you could be master of the world. He brought up footage of the League talking on the roof and explained he's been studying them. Later the society flew to an island as Grodd explained they're robbing a rich man who owns the entire property. They landed and saw a tall stone wall protecting the inner workings of the island from intruders. Let me, Giganta said. Before growing taller she struck the wall only to get shocked. She fell on her back as Grodd stared. Next time, look before you leap. Frost. Killer Frost froze the wall before Grodd looked to Sinestro, who nodded and used his ring to make a fist and broke the wall. Grodd calmly walked forward as the S attacked. Killer Frost froze everyone in her path as Anna burned everyone in hers. Deathstroke and Copperhead sliced whoever came their way. They ran inside where Grodd saw a cook in expensive alligator shoes running outside and followed him. Once at the end of the dock they saw him at some distance away in a speedboat and turned to Killer Frost. Freeze the water. She froze the boat in place as Sinestro pulled the chef over. Morgan Edge Gross said before taking him to a freezer with 4 red biohazard tanks in. Once the others were inside, Killer Frost stayed back for a moment to flash freeze Morgan Edge before heading back towards the others. Opened them. Giganta opened them and mud came out to form a muscular humanoid. Everyone, I give you our final member, Clayface. They flew back to their hideout as Clayface looked around and explained he's not like them, as he only wants to become normal again. But you can be so much more, Grodd said as he explained he too RNED Gigant, a human from a baby gorilla in Gorilla City, and he could turn him normal. The Justice League training ground. Superman was walking in the Western-themed town. Attack. Cardboard cutouts of his villains Naruto, Supergirl, Cheetah, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern watched from a building. Good robots came up behind him as he talked to Jean before Hawk Girl flew over and attacked all but one. She flew did just as the others yelled out. Boom, the robot exploded, sending her flying up to the others as Nerut caught her bridal style. It was Bobby trapped, Nerut said, setting her down. How could I know, Jean? ND. Superman flew up as Green Lantern spoke up. Your teammates, one's a psychic and the other has X-ray vision. They continued going through exercises with Batman leaving early. They finished with Green Lantern making a giant for the team to fight together, but Superman and Supergirl took the brunt of the attacks. Naruto landed just as Superman argued he and Supergirl can take the attacks so they don't have to, causing Naruto to walk up to them. But you can't make us rely on that. There will be times when you two are not around or the enemy has kryptonite and we'll need to have faith in our own strength. NGTH later Batman warehouse Batman dropped down from the rafters and threw a shock battering at Clayface who was looking around always trying to find a cure. Aren't you? Clayface groaned as he tried to hold his form where's shade. Clayface pointed to one of the pipes where steam came out and have the S. A Cray Society walkout. Sinestro blasted the batang off and Clayface formed over to them. Didn't think I came without backup, did you? He asked as Batman stared at him. Shame, wish I thought of that. He smirked as a door behind him blasted apart revealing the League and Cheetah. Oh wait, I did. Naruto pulled his bow and shot several arrows as the others faced off with one of the villains. Copperhead jumped at him and kicked the bow out of his hand. Hello Cage, she greeted, letting her tongue slip out. Naruto sighed before getting in a stance and attacked. He glanced to see the others failing against the Sosi. Tai from bickering or not fighting together. He saw Cheetah fight against Deathstroke who fought with a bow staff and Supergirl fighting Volcano. I thought I'd hold your attention. It's rude to look at other women, Cage, Copperhead said, hitting Naruto in the chin. She kicked him in the stomach before jumping on his shoulder and grabbed his arm. She pulled on it and twisted it before hearing Giganta order a retreat. Till next time, lover boy, she said, bending down to kiss Naruto before jumping up and disappeared. Naruto grabbed his bow and walked over to his bickering team inside. Shut up, we won't solve any thing by bickering like toddlers. Even though we've been a team for a year, this is still new to us. Well, the rest of you really, since I was taught in the value of a team from a young age. Naruto finished as Jean spoke up. Ever since I landed here you took me in and treated me like a family, but what's use of a family if it diminutives us as individuals? What are you saying? Flash asked as Jean looked up. I'm saying I've survived the death of one family and I'll survive the death of this one. He walked out as the others did. Two guys come on, Naruto said, standing still with Cheetah as the others left. Supergirl. Naruto walked over and put his hand on her shoulder only for her to roughly brush him off. Nar sighed as Cheetah walked to him. They'll come around. Naruto let them cool off. Smallville. Naruto and Cheetah held onto Naruto as he drove his motorcycle down the road and up to his house. Strange. The lights are off. Did Diana go to bed early? He drove to the garage and parked the motorcycle. As they got off, Naruto pushed a button by the door, having the motorcycle go under the concrete floor in a secret door, and walked inside. Diana Kara. He walked to the living room and saw an unconscious Supergi RL with a chunk of kryptonite on her. He ran to her just as Deathstroke dropped behind Cheetah and knocked her out. Naruto turned around and growled only for something to stick him in his neck, and his vision blurred. The last thing he saw before blacking out was Copperhead holding a needle. A few hours later, Naruto woke up to find himself tied to a bed wearing nothing but his boxers and cat. Hello lover. Naruto looked to see Copperhead wearing nothing but a brown leather bra and thon. Sierra Copperhead, he yelled out as she swayed over to him. She straddled his waist and traced circles on his chest. What the hell? He stopped as she puts a finger on his lips and smiled down. Now no talking until that drug kicks in. Naruto blinked at that before speaking. Drug? She nodded before grinding on him. Yes, an aphrodisiac. He deadpanned at her. For a moment you really wanted to have sex with me that bad? Not sex making love, she said as she moved to his boxers. Is that tattoo new? Naruto asked, trying to buy time to get out. She smirked as she thrusted her chest out, showing the tattoo along the top of her breasts and up to her neck. And I forgot to add her tattoo in the earlier chapters for anyone new. Look at her in Arkham Origins. Yeah, I just got it. Like it? I think it draws attention to my chest. Naruto nodded before speaking up. Yes, it compliments a beauty like you, he said as she stopped for a moment and looked down. What? She asked as he blinked. You act like no one's called you beautiful. Copperhead looked down and nodded. Yeah, growing up when I got these changes the men stayed away from me. Sorry to hear that they lost. Really truthfully, you did freak me out at first, but only because you reminded me of a man from my world that was like a snake-themed Joker, but now you remind me of his apprentice. Write down T. Oh, her flirty persona, he said, grunting as he felt the drug kick in. One day you'll find someone who love you. What if that's you? You're the only man who hasn't treated me like a freak or assassin, she replied, looking at his panting form. Maybe not. Only time will tell. I think that's because I was in Your shoes growing up also I was treated as an outcast for close to 15 years I was never adopted hell I don't even know who took care of me until I was 5 and had my own apartment she smiled down before leaning and kissed him he groaned again as she pulled back unclipped her bra and threw it aside. Secret Society An hour later Grodd looked at the heroes in containment tubes with Martian Manhunter frozen in his before sighing he walked over to a table and picked up a cell phone he dialed Copperhead and when she answered he heard soft groaning and rhythmic squeaking Copperhead did you get Cage why? He had to use a deadlier dosage so had to bring him to one of my safe houses and get the antidote you didn't want him killed right away though I'll need you to pick us up at a rendezvous point before the show she replied holding in moans you all right he asked noticing she stopped after a few words Eel talking yeah he woke up moments ago fought again it took more out of me he nodded before hanging up let's go Super Bowl 37 Halim later the society landed in a stadium filled with people and looked at he crowd hello everyone Grodd said through a microphone before continuing we've come here today because this is where the strong routinely beat the weak you so-called higher primates revel in that but outside these walls you do everything to shackle the mighty and keep them from fulfilling their destiny as he talked Sinestro attacked any security from getting to them as a slightly sweaty copper head brought out a remote and brought the Justice League up here's your heroes who break every law of nature by coddling the weak we say it's time for a new order but that can't arrive until the old one departs ready for your close-up Mr. Hagen Clayface smirked and reached for the controls beside him. Only to phase through and break it releasing the heroes and turned into Gene you froze the wrong one the frozen Gene fell off and broke only to reform into Clayface Naruto and the others ran to the villains and he jumped to Deathstroke as Supergirl flew to Volcana and Cheetah went to Copperhead Deet. Stroke jumped up with his staff and attacked Naruto multiple times Naruto blocked each one with his arms before grabbing the staff and kicked him away I always wanted to test you Cage Naruto raised an eyebrow as he glanced to see the others doing better in their fights than last time really I'm touch. Naruto charged at him and delivered multiple punches and hits him in the stomach before punching him in his helmet knocking it off Naruto looked at the grain hair of the Deathstroke before blinking Slade Wilson I heard you became a mercenary Slade took out a katana and charged at Naruto only for Naruto to disappear and reappear behind him with a Renin spiraling sphere in his hand Renin spiraling sphere Slade was sent flying over to a downed Sinestro Volcana and Shade just as Cheetah flipped Copperhead over her shoulder and knocked her out Naruto turned to see Clayface explode with fireworks Grow away Superman flew over and Grodd attacked him Supergirl now Naruto yelled as she flew over and punched Grow through the field goal Naruto walked to the others who were looking down guys I know we all said things we shouldn't have but like I said being on a team is new to you you're either used to fighting alone or with a partner you fought with for years it will take time to trust each other and rely on the others Naruto said looking at each one you have anyone you couldn't work with Supergirl asked as Naruto walked forward yes he drove his hand through my chest once Naruto said before looking back best to get past this and move on Smallville Naruto's house you had sex with her Naruto jumped over the couch and hid his carrot threw a vase at him honey it's no he ducked as she threw a plate at him don't honey me you jerk Naruto looked to see Hunter hiding with him covering his ears and with his any chance I can get you to distract her while I run Hunter whined before crawling away on his stomach yeah I don't blame you buddy he looked up at Kara wearing jeans that's cut into shorts and one of his black shirts knotted up to show her midriff Carrara honey dear I can expo he stopped. As her eyes glowed red explain what how some had sex with you while the others and I were tied up in a cave it wasn't like that I was tied up and drugged Barbara in black jeans and red shirt Cheetah going into her human form and Diana walked in as Naruto was trying to explain his time with Peeperhead I actually feel bad for him Barbara asked as Cheetah looked to her really Barbara took a thoughtful look and then shook her head nope unknown location a few days later night 4 cloaked people sat at a circular table with another standing in front of them as candles lit the room we have all Been wronged by the same man, the one standing up said in a male's voice. We have, the others said together. Before the male standing continued, we all seek the same thing, we do. The standing man looked up and continued, we agreed to work together to achieve our ultimate goal. The others nodded when the man lifted his right hand showing its robotic speak your names. One by one they took off their hoods. Toyin, the one beside him, took their hood off. Live Wire, the one by her, took theirs off. Weather Wizard is a man with short brown hair wearing green glasses, is the one beside him, removed their hood. Kalak, the man standing, removed his hood. Metalo, speak the word and seal the pack. Metalo finished holding a knife up as the others stood and did the same. Revenge, they brought their knives down on the table showing Superman's shield painted on it. Smallville, Naruto grumbled as he moved around on the couch that Kara made him sleep on. It wasn't my fault, he sighed before looking up at the ceiling. I should have gotten one with a fold-out bed, he groaned before hearing Kara speak up from upstairs. I would have welded the frame so you can't use it. I knew I should have waited for her to graduate high school in a few months before allowing her to live here. He heard footsteps and looked up to see Cheetah walking out of the kitchen. Hello Naruto, comfy, he glared at her as she walked over to him and leaned on the back of the couch. Be a little better if you slept with me, she smirked as her tail wagged behind her. Isn't sleeping with a girl the reason you're sleeping on the couch, she asked before jumping over the couch and straddled his waist. Just let her cool off, Naruto. It took about 2 years before you did the deed with her, 1 and close to a year with us. It really only took a few meetings with Copperhead before she bed you, he sighed as he grabbed her waist with his hands and leaned up. Like I said, I was drugged. I can't help if women can't control themselves around me, she deadpanned at him before purring as he started to rub her sides. Stoop, you're unpunished, you better not be feeling barb up while we're mad at you. Nar stopped as Kara yelled down. Chika smirked before getting off of him and walked away with a sway in her hips. Naruto sighed before laying back down and tried to go to sleep. Morning, Naruto in his costume drove out of his garage on his motorcycle after getting a briefing from Gene of Kalak. Weather Wizard, Metalo, Toyman and Livewire attacking near the Daily Planet. He looked up to see Wonder Woman and Supergirl flying above him before focusing back on the road. When he got to the Daily Planet, he saw the others excluding Batman and Superman fight the group of villains. Weather Wizard raised a wand and created storm clouds just as Naruto saw Jean fighting Metalo. Naruto heen flying thunder god to him and grabbed Metalo. Hello Terminator, one of Naruto greeted before flashing away with him. Renan spiraling sphere. Naruto hits Metalo in the chest as he stopped near the O's and sends Metalo flying away. He flashed back to see a downed Wonder Woman in front of a giant toy robot with a cannon on its chest, and a glowing green energy started building up. No, Naruto yelled before flashing to her and wrapped his arms around her while having his back face the robot. It fired just as Superman flew in front of them. Boom, rain fell down as Naruto flew away and dropped Wonder Woman before flying through a building and came out through the other side. Cage, Wonder Woman yelled before seeing everyone stare in shock behind her. She looked back to see a piece of Superman's cape fall down. She growled before flying over and punched the robot as tears fell from her eyes. Toyin fell out before picking up a water gun. Stay back, it's full of acid. Wonder Woman kicked the gun out of his hand before lifting him up by his collar. Do I look like I'm playing games, she asked, pulling her fist back only for a bloody hand to stop her. She looked to see a bloody Naruto holding his left side as blood dripped through his hand. We don't do that, he weakly said before coughing. Speak for yourself, he groaned before moving his hand showing a small rebar sticking out of his side. I'm trying to speak for Super. He stopped as he fell face first on the ground. A few days later, Smallville, Naruto's house. Naruto in his stealth costume with the hood down walked to Diana's room with a small limp. He pushed the door open and saw Diana wearing a white gold trimmed dress with wings decorations on her tiara, sword on her side and gold knee-high heeled boots, and put on a cape. He smiled before walking over and wrapped his arms around her. You feeling all right, he asked as she stared at him through the mirror. I should be asking you that, he smiled weakly before replying. Big injuries take longer to heal. That rebar went through me just a little tender at the moment. He looked back before letting her go and walked out of the room. I'll let you two talk, he said walking past Hyola and closed the door. A few hours later, Naruto, Wonder Woman, Cheetah and Supergirl got out of his now red Charger and walked in the church. He looked to see the others were there at the front along with Aquaman, Dr. Fate and their wives. He looked to his left and saw John and Martha sitting with two of his clone with one henge transformation to look like Kara sitting beside them as Barbara and another clone with Jim, Alfred, Tim and Richard N. Naruto and the girls sat with the League and waited for the funeral to start. A few moments later Nar heard the crowd whisper and looked back. Is it Batman? I can't see. Hawk Girl asked, standing up before Lois Lane walked down, narrowing her eyes. I can. Naruto got up and walked behind her as Lex Luthor walked. Ed and Luthor, how dare you show your face here, she asked before slapping him. Come to gloat, you always wanted him dead. I hate you. She started crying as she pounded on his chest before Naruto grabbed her and hugged her as she cried on his chest. Later the League carried a black coffin with Superman's shish Yield on top through Metropolis. Wonder Woman looked up and saw Batman on a rooftop before looking back and walked to the park where a large stone with a metal Superman shield is before burying him. Later Watchtower. Naruto picked up a drink as Green Lantern finished telling a story about Superman. They looked to each other and started discussing the future of the League. Suddenly a hover motorcycle with a skull on it bursts through the door, having everyone grab the table as the air was sucked out. Naruto groaned as he was standing up. What's with the long faces? Justice tweets. Naro heard a male's voice speak up before his eyes widened. Oh Lord no. He looked up and saw a man with chalk white skin, black hair that reached his neck with mutton chops and a mustache. He has red eyes with black around them. He's wearing a black leather jacket with the right sleeve ripped off over a gray shirt and finger less gloves. He has a black SP belt with a skull buckle, blue jeans, silver knee pads and black combat boots. Oh damn it, Naruto cursed before the man picked up out of the black armbands and puts it around his head as a bond. And lighten up, the answer to your entire problem is right here, but you can call me Lobo. You are not welcomed here. This is a private gathering, JN said, walking to Lobo. Yeah, Superman kicked the bucket, but that's why I'm here. Naruto faced pawned as Supergirl glared at Lobo. Guys, this is Lobo, a bounty hunter, Naruto said before looking up to see Lobo smirk. The main man's the best bone tie hunter in the known universe. You can ask Superman if he wasn't busy pushing up daisies. Hey cage girly. Supergirl glared harder before Lobo continued. The main man is here to take Superman's place. Wonder Woman grabbed Lobo and threw him over her shoulder, making him hit a wall. You're no Superman, she said, holding her fist back. The ladies say different, Lobo replied, closing his eyes in a smile. Shut up, cage, Supergirl said as Naruto opened his mouth. But I was just going to. He was interrupted by Supergirl, who looked to him. You are going to make a joke with you replacing Lobo in that sentence. His head dropped as she looked to see Wonder Woman throw Lobo across the room. Oh, I see you want the main man to audition. Well, lady, let's dance. Lobo ripped a piece of the wall off and threw it at them. Naruto groaned as he walked to a monitor as the others fought Lobo and saw Copperhead, Livewire, Volcanada, Adshot, Star Sapphire and Kalak attacking Metropolis. He ducked under a chair before yelling, guys, we have a problem. Later with Lobo they saw the group of villains in a pile and saw Superman float down with Kalak in hand. As Superman, Hawk Girl asked as Superman ignored her. He repeatedly punched Kalak, creating a sonic wave behind him. Naruto narrowed his eyes before trying to hear a ice and flying thunder god to him, only for nothing to happen. What the hell, Naruto asked before bringing out his bow and pressed the button on the inside of the handle. The bottom of the quiver rotated before he grabbed a hairy flying thunder god arrow and shot up to Superman. He flashed up and WBED his arms around Superman. What are you? Superman grabbed him and threw him away into a building. Cage, Supergirl, Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl yelled before flying up to Superman. Unknown location. A man under rubble groaned before pushing off a large rock, revealing Superman. He groaned before looking at his hand and saw several cuts on it. Confused, he looked up to see a large moon with an asteroid ring and a red sun. He looked back to see several old cars before shouting hello. After no response, he puts a hand to his ear. Super M. And to Justice League, it seems that we've transported to a planet with a red sun. My powers aren't working. I'm picking up the homing beacon but have no audio. He looked at an old red convertible before continuing. We leave this channel open and move to your position a few months later. Everything unti. Superman runs into Vandal as Canon Superman with longer hair and a beard walked through the jungle with a makeshift sword on his back. He's wearing a pelt to act like a cape and a white shirt with a pouch around his waist, walking out, his eyes widened at a destroyed watchtower before running up to he ran inside before going to a computer to bring up the members' whereabouts only to see everyone's status is unknown, with Naruto and Supergirl having deceased on their pictures. What happened to them, he asked before a male voice spoke up behind him. They died. He looked back to see Vandal Savage in a suit standing behind him. Thousands of years ago Vandal finished before looking up. They don't build them like this anymore. Lost orbit 7,500 years ago. This is Earth, thousands of years in the future. That simpleton Toyman didn't know what he had. He finished as Superman's eyes widened. That disintegrato. R-Ray, Superman asked as Vandal looked to him, an energized take-on beam that said you into the future, he said before walking up to Superman. Hello. He took Superman to a destroyed metropolis as a tall skyscraper and explained a few months after Superman died he stolen a vital part to make a machine that controlled the gravity and declared himself ruler of the world, but sadly it went haywire and caused this. He finished pointing to the moon and ultimately destroyed the Earth. The Justice League would have stopped you, Superman said before Vandal nodded yes if that cyborg didn't take out the heavy hit. Superman raised an eyebrow, causing Vandal to continue. About a week after you died, several villains decided to attack Metropolis thinking it would be easy to take over, but then you came in and stopped them. The fake you tried to kill Kalak, making the League thinking it wasn't you or you were being controlled. After a fight that ended in Supergirl's death, it was revealed that he was a cyborg that hated you for the death of his family after a solar flare and wanted to tarnish your reputation when you couldn't save them in time, so it took on your appearance for the extra addition towards its rev. NGE Cage used a power move that caused his death as well as the cyborg. Vandal finished before taking him to his tower. So you're the only human left? Vandal shook his head before answering. Intel I found 14s 10 years ago. They walked inside and saw each level filled with fossils, books and antiques. Before hearing in a baby cry, it's all right Kamari, mommy's here. Superman saw 4 people, 1 male and 3 females. The females all have black hair and dresses, with 2 looking younger and obvious twins. The male has long blonde hair and blue eyes, wearing old clothes. Superman, this is Candy era and their S. On Kamar 2 Ari stood up holding a baby boy with black hair. The others are Spirit and Flower. We are the last of humankind. Hello, Spirit and Flower said together before Vandal went to make lunch and explained all of the projects he did have to do something for 30,000 years or you'll go mad, so you're the Superman Vandal told us about. I thought you'd be taller, Candy said as they went to the kitchen and his Vandal explains all he did to stay sane. Nighttime. Superman got up from the couch and looked around the tower. As he got to the end of the hall and opened the door, his eyes widened as he saw a time machine that looks like the one he and the others used to travel to World War II to eventually stop Savage. He ran down the hall and opened Vandal's door. Savage. Vandal woke up and rubbed his eyes. What, you've got a time machine? Vandal nodded before explaining he never finished it after losing it. Rest. It wouldn't work. The design won't allow me to go back in any timeline where I already exist. Superman nodded before speaking. Well, I'm already dead. Later, after finishing the machine with Kama's help, Vandal turned the power on only for it to fizzle out after a second. As I thought, not enough power. Andal said looking down and thought, what about that generator that you said was stolen a while back? Candy asked as Vandal smirked before walking outside to a giant dragonfly pen. They each flew on one to a giant termite hill and scoped it out from a distance. It acts like a sun and it provides warmth for them, Bendel explained as he and Candy pulled out pistols. Superman pulled his sword out and sliced at them as a giant beagle that jumped out of the ground. Candy and Vandal shot at it as several more attacked, forcing them to run to the hill. Candy shot at a beagle that tried to fly at them as Superman sliced it when it fell. Go, it's just up ahead, we'll cover you, Vandal shouted, shooting more insects that came his way. They attacked any insects that came to them and ran to a hole where a yellow light shined. Superman jumped down as Candy and Vandal continued to attack. Suddenly red lasers attacked The insects forcing them to flee. They looked back to see Superman flew to them holding a yellow orb. Later Vandal walked out of the machine and wiped his forehead. I had a hunch that the radiation would restore your power, but I didn't want to get your hopes up, he said as they walked up with the girls. Following after, you know, if this works, this version of you won't exist, Superman said to Candy and the others. We hoping for that. If it's a better future, Candy said. His spirit pulled a camera out. How about a picture to remember us by? Superman smiled at her as Vandal turned the machine on. Present the sea. Eberg. Superman stood over an unconscious Supergirl and his eyes glowed before being punched. Naruto groaned as he got up to see Superman floating in front of the imposter. He waked a Supergirl just as Superman flew to the cyborg and flew away with him as a shock wave came off and broke the windows on the buildings surrounding them. Up with Superman, they traded punches as they flew high above the city. The cyborg shot lasers at Superman and hits him in his chest. Why are you doing this? Superman asked as his imposter glared. Because you ruined my life, he yelled before flying to Superman. Superman punch ed him, tearing off his skin revealing his metal exoskeleton. The cyborg flew at Superman and punched him down and flew at him. Superman topped before flying up and punched a cyborg in the face before using his freeze breath on him. The cyborg broke free before shooting lasers at Superman, who did the saw me. Naruto looked up to see Superman and the cyborg fight up in the sky. He picked Supergirl up and walked to the others before seeing an explosion, and a moment later Superman flew down. No time to explain. Cage, get Supergirl to the med bay. We have to stop Vandal. Savage, Superman said as Naruto disappeared. And the